HE News, episode number 14. You're listening to another episode of Health Empowerment News with CROFT. This week, everything you wanted to know about vitamin C. Welcome back to Health Empowerment News with CROFT Woodruff. We're here in Vancouver. My name is Andrew McGivern, and how are you doing, CROFT?
Very well, thank you, Andrew.
And today we're going to talk about vitamin C.
Yes, and of course the propaganda that's going out there that you can take too many vitamins and they can be dangerous. Long-term intake of high doses of vitamins are now considered to be dangerous without any really good evidence to support such claims. The latest thing I hear is that in the United Kingdom they want to lower the recommended levels of vitamin C, and this is flying in the face of headlines in UK Telegraph or the Independent, the Sunday Times, that in fact they're seeing scurvy among children. They're not getting enough vitamin C. And of course I can put this down to government not stepping in and saying, well, just wait a minute, what's going on here? Who profits by people being sick, suffering from scurvy? Well, certainly the pharmaceutical industry, but they have patented drugs which in fact aren't the answer for scurvy anyways. It's vitamin C and its cofactors, the bioflavonoids. And for this to go on, it sounds to me almost like it would be a conspiracy. You can go to Geneva and the World Health Organization and the Codex Alimentarius. The Codex Alimentarius is the food code. And they're making suggestions that reduce the levels of vitamin C in foods as far as food fortification is concerned, or labeling. They want to cut vitamin C from, say, 60 milligrams to 45 milligrams, and the 60 milligrams is already too low. We have seen cases of scurvy in the inner cities of major inner cities, and like even Vancouver, where you can go into their notorious downtown east side, and you'll see people just by looking at their skin. They have these bruises under the skin, which are clear signs of subclinical scurvy, more susceptibility to infections and colds. And of course, the evidence is there. I mean, all you have to do is punch in vitamin C, and you'll get websites, and there are all kinds of powerful books on the value of vitamin C in so many things, as an antiviral, as an anti-infective, as an immune booster, as a healing agent. You have to have vitamin C to heal wounds. Of course, it isn't just vitamin C. You need minerals like zinc, for instance, very important. But they're trying to tell us that it's dangerous to take vitamins, that we're going to get sick. This is totally absurd. And the other thing that I'm very concerned about is that if this kind of nonsense is allowed to build, you're going to see governments severely reducing the potency of vitamins available over the counter, whether it is in health food stores or in pharmacies. This is simply not right. They're taking people's right to self-medicate away from them.
Dr. Linus Pauling, he wrote a book on vitamin C, and he did a lot of his work on how vitamin C is a cancer fighter, immune system booster. But in terms of vitamin C from our diet, I think these warnings that you're talking about, they were talking about supplementing high doses of vitamin C. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Is that a problem?
Well, people have taken tremendous amounts of vitamin C without any harm whatsoever. And, of course, you can only handle so much. It will go through you like the proverbial dose of salts. It has a powerful laxative effect if you take very high doses. Your body, from the gut, will only absorb so much. And so it's self-limiting by that very factor. And, of course, it's nature's way of telling you that you can stay at a certain level below that where it doesn't have the laxative effect, and that's probably the level that your body really needs. We have seen cases, and when I say we, I'm talking about people in orthomolecular nutrition. We're not talking just about naturopathic physicians, but also medical doctors who are in the field of vitamin research and the use of vitamins in preventing disease as well as treating disease and healing disease. And yes, it has been used successfully in the treatment of cancer. Vitamin C actually can act as a pain reliever. It has made a big difference for people who have had snake bites, for instance, spider bites, and that sort of a thing, blood poisoning. Vitamin C is a powerful antidote to many of these things. It's not 100% because there are some venomous snakes that you have to have a special antidote for, but like the water moccasin in the United States, high doses of vitamin C will neutralize the snake venom, and vitamin C can be put into the vein intravenously. It can be done that way to neutralize a snake venom or a spider bite, or taken orally. It all depends on the situation and how serious it is. We've seen cases where people their lungs are literally disintegrating because of a viral pneumonia, and an IV of vitamin C over a period of 3 hours, but administered over 4 or 5 days makes a big difference. We've seen it successfully used in treating such conditions as mononucleosis, the so-called kissing disease, which can have a very powerful effect of laying a person low in terms of like chronic fatigue. They can't get up and do anything. And yet just an IV of vitamin C and probably getting maybe about 75 grams in the push or more. And guess what? They're out of the chair and feeling like $1 million. But they usually have to have about 3 or 4 treatments in total before the virus is totally eradicated. You have a situation where people, and this goes back about maybe 30 years, where there was a doctor in Southern California, and he spoke at a lecture that I attended, and he was pointing out drug addicts. People, in those days, it was a $300 a day heroin addict, and 200 grams of vitamin C administered intravenously completely knock out the addiction and the withdrawal symptoms. And of course, we know that, for instance, in the drug culture that we have today, and the way medicine treats heroin addiction is to get them off of heroin and put them on this other drug.
Methadone?
Methadone, yes. And the methadone is actually more addicting, and the addicts really don't like it anyways. So they're caught between a rock and a hard place when it comes to trying to get off a habit. Amazingly, there's so many things out there that occur in natural medicine that need to be looked at again. And it's out there. People can do searches on these things on the internet and find all kinds of valuable information. Information, obviously, that the drug establishment really doesn't want us to know.
What about people who say that they don't supplement with vitamin C because they believe they're getting it in their diet through orange juice or vegetables and fruits?
Well, that all depends on how they prepare their food. If they cook their food and if they boil everything, we know that the minerals and vitamins that are water soluble, as is vitamin C and the B vitamins, they will come out, and the draining of the cooked vegetables, it turns out that the sink becomes the best fed mouth in the house. Because all the good has gone out with the liquid that the vegetables were prepared in. That's why the best way is when you make soup, everything is there and it doesn't get thrown out. And that's the best way. If you're going to cook all your vegetables, then make soup. And you can do many things with soup to make it tasty and delicious. And, they say the best thing for a fever is you feed the fever by keeping the patient warm and well hydrated. That means lots of fluids, and especially chicken soup, but it could be any vegetable soup flavored with or without chicken. And of course, you've got to keep the forehead cool and the back of the head cool so that the brain remains cool. And that's what you do. You starve a cold and you feed a fever. And of course, lots of vitamin C will take out a fever as well. I have a friend who stays with me right now, and he says, I never see you sick. And I'm a person in my middle 70s now, and there's times that I will catch the odd cold, but it's the kind of cold that I get rid of it within a matter of 8 to 24 hours max. And why? Because I take vitamin C, and I take other vitamins that have antiviral activity. Zinc is a powerful antiviral agent.
Is it true that citrus fruit and other vegetable or other fruits need to be ripened on the vine in order to have the maximum amount of vitamin C?
The maximum amount of vitamin C will be in the orange or the grapefruit or the lemon or lime the time it is taken from the tree. And after that, it will deteriorate. And Dr. Emanuel Charaskin and his colleagues at the Department of Oral Medicine, University of Alabama, they traced oranges from Florida all the way to St. John's, Newfoundland. And at every port of call, you might say, they take samples of the fruit and test it for vitamin C content. And they find that by the time the fruit got to some place like New York City, 50% of it was gone. Now, an orange, a medium-sized orange, maximum vitamin C content could be about 150 milligrams. So by the time it reaches New York City, maybe 75 milligrams or even 50 milligrams. But by the time it gets to St. John's, Newfoundland, it's zero content, very low. And so you think there are things in the orange that are still valuable, like the bioflavonoids, because they are in the fiber and in the white part of the peel and in the membrane, and so they still have antiscorbutic activity, but their activity is even more potent when the vitamin C is present.
So if you're juicing, you should juice the white stuff as well.
Yeah, actually you should, but don't forget you're introducing oxygen. So my formula is to get yourself, a kilogram of pure ascorbic acid, and when you're making fruit juice, take about a quarter of a teaspoon per glass and mix it in. And if it's too acidic for you, you can, before you put it in, cut it with a little bit of baking soda. It'll fizz up, and then once it fizzes down, then you just add it. And the ratio usually, for a large amount, about a flat, a level tablespoon, a level teaspoon really, of baking soda to a very heaping teaspoon of ascorbic acid crystals or powder. And you put that in about, 500 milliliter tumbler, and you better have maybe a larger pitcher aside because you may have a big foam over and you don't want to lose that. And once it's settled down, it'll have a bit of a soda-like taste, but it is a very potent way to get your vitamin C. And you benefit, by the way, from the soda as well, from the salt, because it helps to give you a better pH balance in your body than it would have otherwise.
So that's what you do. You take it with sodium bicarbonate?
I cut bicarbonate soda or baking soda, good old Arm & Hammer, and I cut it. And you can adjust the amount of baking soda to suit your taste. And the more you add, of course, there's probably less of a reaction. I think maybe the ratio I have, I get quite a bit of foaming, but that's all right. I just stir it until it goes down and add more water and mix it up and then take it down.
So you take 1 teaspoon?
1 heaping teaspoon of vitamin C.
Which would be about 5 grams?
A heaping teaspoon might be more like about 6 or 7 grams. And a level teaspoon of baking soda. And I haven't really figured out. I just do it by guess and by gosh. And it works for me. People can adjust these things to suit their own taste. But the important thing is to make sure that they get far more vitamin C than they do the baking soda.
The vitamin C supplement that I currently have is buffered vitamin C powder from Life Extension. Mm-hmm. And it's vitamin C as absorbic acid, 4,000 milligrams per teaspoon, rounded teaspoon. It also has calcium as calcium carbonate, magnesium carbonate, zinc gluconate, and potassium carbonate. When you add water to it and mix it up, it
foams.
It foams just like you're mentioning with the sodium bicarbonate.
Yeah, because what's happened is that instead of giving you already, calcium, magnesium, zinc, and potassium ascorbate, they're letting the reaction take place in your glass of water at home. Where some places or some pharmacies will have it. You can buy the ascorbates like that, but they're already fixed and they won't foam. But it's every bit as good because you're getting the minerals. And the minerals are everything because your vitamins don't work unless you get the minerals. And that's very important to know. And that's why organic farming is so important, because when they feed the soil with the minerals and of course the organic material, so that you have an ecology that's working for you, then you're going to have a crop of vegetables that will be packed with the nutrition that your body needs. And this is something that's very important, because it's my opinion that there's definitely a move on by pharmaceutical industry. They want to play both sides of the street. They want the drug business, but they also want the vitamin business. But they know very well that the vitamin business will cut into the drug business. Because drugs, what do? They just suppress symptoms. They hide the problem. They don't get at the problem. There is no drug that causes a disease, the lack of which would cause a deficiency disease, in other words. We know that a lack of vitamin C causes scurvy and slow healing and susceptibility to easy bruising, where your blood vessels under the surface of the skin are breaking because they're fragile. They haven't got the strength for the lack of vitamin C. And we have to remember, human beings do not make their own vitamin C. The ape family, they don't make their own vitamin C. And there's a species of fruit-eating bat. There is a species of fish that doesn't make its own vitamin C. Basically, vitamin C in animals is a metabolite of liver function. The liver carries one more step from converting sugar to glucose to ascorbic acid or ascorbate. And without that, we are in dire straits if we're not getting it from our food sources. And that's the big problem today. Because of food processing, vitamin C gets processed out. It can be destroyed by overcooking and other improper methods of food preparation. It will oxidize in the air. It will be susceptible to toxins in the environment, and it gets used up, which in turn increases our need for vitamin C, because if we're inhaling pollutants into our lungs, and if we are absorbing some things through our skin, and if we're getting it through the water supply. I mean, one of the most absurd things is this business of water fluoridation, because fluoride is a potent vitamin C antagonist. It is a very potent calcium, as well as an antagonist to other minerals besides calcium. And whenever I see some athlete suffering from or coming down with osteosarcoma, there is a definite link with this form of bone cancer and long-term fluoride exposure. And as far as I'm concerned, the people who promote fluoridation and they refuse to recognize this fact, they are just as criminal as our leaders who advocate the bombing of villages in Afghanistan or Pakistan. That's the way I look at it. And we are polluting our water. Chlorine is another antagonist to vitamin C and increases our need. And so the best thing you can do actually is cut your drinking water with a bit of baking soda even.
Or use a filter,
and filter it out. It's your best bet, is either by reverse osmosis or a type of filter that is designed to take out fluoride, chlorine, and other pollutants. And because and of course the same thing, we should be after industry. Less emissions means pure air to breathe rather, and pure water to drink. And we don't have to spend so much money on purification systems as we do now. But I digress. Getting back to vitamin C. So it is a metabolite of liver function, and the things that we do to our environment are very destructive of vitamin C. It increases our needs, so we have to supplement. And for some people to say that it's we shouldn't be supplementing, we don't need to supplement, and we have, as I said, the Codex Alimentarius, the food code, through the World Health Organization, telling us that we should reduce the intake of vitamin C from 60 milligrams to 45 milligrams. this is insane. And they're doing the same thing with other vitamins and minerals as well. And who are they really working for? This is the latest thing that happened in November in Geneva. Completely, in my mind, destroys the credibility of a Codex Alimentarius and the World Health Organization itself.
Well, Linus Pauling, doesn't he believe that it's a defect? That
it's something that the primates, and of course we are, I guess, the greater of the primates, although I sometimes wonder. I think gorillas have more brains than what we have, but that's an issue for another talk. The bottom line is that, for some time ago, thousands of years ago, we lost the ability to convert blood sugar into vitamin C. Basically, that's what the liver does. And, of course, it has been put down to the fact that we evolved out of tropical climates like Africa. In fact, they can say that they trace the origins of mankind from deepest and darkest Africa. Well, that's got to be tens of thousands of years ago, if not hundreds of thousands of years ago. And living in an environment where vitamin C is just for picking off a vine, regardless of what kind of fruit or berry it might be, and then, of course, gorillas tend to be vegetarians, and it is calculated that a gorilla needs probably around 10 grams or more of vitamin C. Certainly with the chimpanzee, they figure at least monkey chow should have at least 9 grams per serving for daily ration for a chimpanzee. And, a chimpanzee, a lot of people, they see these people packing a chimpanzee around like a baby, it's like a little kid. A chimpanzee can reach a weight of 200 pounds, and they have the strength that is much greater than a very strong human being, several times stronger than a real strong man. So that's something to think about. And not only that, they can not only hang on to you with their hands, but also with their feet, so look out. So we have to think about these things, and I've even with animals like cats and dogs make their own vitamin C, but not so well perhaps as say a goat or a cow or a deer or a mouse or a rat, and that's where they have the advantage, and that's where we make a mistake when we use these animals in experiments. To say, too much of this or too much of that can cause a problem, especially when it's too much vitamins. Well, I've seen animals literally brought back to life just by injections of vitamin C alone. And when I look at the people feeding their pets canned food, there are no enzymes. And vitamin C is an enzyme activator, as are minerals. And, we have an epidemic of pancreatic cancer. Why? The pancreas produces enzymes that we need for various metabolic functions, as well as digesting and absorbing and assimilating and utilizing our nutrients. And, of course, you have a limited ability to produce these enzymes, and it's even more limited when the food that we're intaking is not conducive to producing enzymes because of its lack of enzyme activity. Cooked food is dead food, and that's why a raw food diet can be very useful in helping a person to heal. Getting back to vitamin C, as I pointed out, that we fluoridate, which is a vitamin C antagonist as well as a calcium antagonist. And I say this, just check out when you see an athlete who's got osteosarcoma, where were they born? Where were they raised? And if you're able to find out, were they prescribed were they prescribed fluoride drops or tablets by the family doctor in the belief that it would give good dental health.
Why do you say athlete?
Well, because they're the ones that generally seem to come down with osteosarcoma. It's just that a well-known Canadian athlete came down, he had already had a bout of osteosarcoma, and it came back with a vengeance. Vitamin C is an anti-stress vitamin. One of the highest sites of vitamin C in your body besides the liver and the eyes, believe it or not, is your adrenal glands. And, of course, the kidney. Dr. Cheraskin makes note of the fact that a person whose kidneys had shut down was given vitamin C, just 1,000 milligrams. The kidneys started working again. There's a very good book that people should get. It's out of print, but you might find it in the library. It's called The Vitamin C Connection. And there's another book by Dr. Joel Levy. And all you have to do is just punch in vitamin C, and you will come to a website. You will find a website that lists all of Cheraskin and his colleagues' works at the University of Alabama Department of Oral Medicine, but also mentions this Dr. Levy and Dr. Harvey Newbold, the work of Dr. Irwin Stone, who actually was the gentleman who got Dr. Linus Pauling interested in vitamin C. And then, of course, there's the work of Dr. Albert Szent-Györgyi, who got the Nobel Prize for first isolating and identifying vitamin C, and so on. It's all there if people want to look, and that's the amazing thing about the Internet. There's so many things that you can find through the Internet. You know, it's just the whole world is an encyclopedia. So whenever you hear anything out there that says, you take too many vitamins, well, I have a friend whose daughter married a doctor, and she told my friend, "Don't talk to me about vitamins. My husband and his family of doctors don't believe in vitamins." Well, better believe in something. But this Dr. Cheraskin said many times that health is the fastest growing failing business in North America, because it's our biggest cost, isn't it, in terms of the government's budget, whether it's provincial or federal, or in the case of the U.S. state budgets and that.
It's by far the biggest cost.
That's right. And why? Because we have this paradigm of allopathic medicine where rather than finding out what causes the symptoms, we suppress them with the drugs. And, when the body gives you a symptom, it's telling you something. There's something wrong here. And if you go to a naturopath, they can say, well, maybe you need to take more of this vitamin or that vitamin, or you're lacking in certain minerals. And you can do that by adjusting your diet, because I think the time will come when we will not be able to buy vitamins of any significant potency unless you have to take the pills by handfuls just to get 1,000 milligrams. And so that means you're going to have to look to yeast foods like torula yeast or brewer's yeast and nutritional yeast, which is grown on blackstrap molasses. And that is one of the richest sources of B vitamins. That's how the pharmaceutical industry actually gets their source for the B vitamins. Mostly, it's from yeast grown on blackstrap molasses, because blackstrap molasses, that is the residual of the sugar industry, and so everything is in there: minerals and the B vitamins, and of course the yeast synthesizes and makes more B vitamins. Then you have the great work of Abe Hoffer and Humphrey Osmond and their work with B vitamins and mental illness. And in his book, Adventures in Orthomolecular Medicine, Dr. Hoffer mentions the experience he had with his mother. She started losing her memory in her, in the prime of her life, in her 60s. And what did he do? He gave her 3 grams of niacin. And, of course, we see the same thing with vitamin C curing scurvy. And, I mean, it's funny. It took the British Navy almost 200 years, I think, before they accepted the fact that it was a lack of fresh fruit and vegetables that was contributing to scurvy in the British Navy. I guess the Germans didn't have so much problems because of their fondness of sauerkraut, which is rich in vitamin C. So
that's why they got the nickname Limeys.
British got the nickname of Limeys, and the Germans got the nickname Kraut because of sauerkraut. And both, of course, the limes are not only rich in the vitamin C, but also the bioflavonoids, which are antiscorbutic in their own right. So whenever you see the fruit with the colors and that, the colors themselves are powerful factors, cofactors for vitamin C activity, and have activity on their own that are very healing. And this is very important, why we should have raw food in our diet. And the more in ratio, the better we are. There are some things that may be not a good idea to eat raw because of problems of contamination with hygienic standards not being what they should be. But usually a good home cook will not ever have a problem with food poisoning.
So scurvy is a deficiency disorder caused by lack of vitamin C?
That is correct. But also slow healing, failure of wounds to close. Many, many years ago, there was a story of a woman that was released from a Winnipeg hospital. And she took a shower when she got home, and she'd had an abdominal operation, and the stitching came away, and the wound opened right up, and her intestines came out. Why? Because in the hospital, she wasn't getting enough vitamin C for that wound to heal quickly and properly. One of the things that happens when you have scurvy, by the way, is old wounds, scars, actually open up and start to bleed.
What about, it's a deficiency disease, but what about people who are getting enough vitamin C but still benefit from taking mega amounts of vitamin C? Like orthomolecular medicine it treats people using natural molecules for a specific condition.
Yeah, well, vitamin C will actually pinch hit for other vitamins that are missing in the diet. But that can only go for so long. It might be for a couple of weeks. And it's important to see that they are getting a balanced diet of all the nutrients. And unfortunately, with modern farming methods, we're looking now at, genetic engineering, and things don't turn out exactly the way they think they're going to.
Are there people that may have a mega requirement for vitamin C?
It has turned that way with B vitamins. I think that we all have a mega requirement for vitamin C, regardless of where we are at in the world. I mean, when you look at the Inuit, what do they eat? Basically, their diet is seal blubber and the meat. As one of the things they do eat is the liver. And the liver is very high in vitamin A. And they worry about vitamin A toxicity, but it's also very rich in vitamin C. Because again, in seals, as in whales and polar bears and other carnivores, as well as the caribou, the reindeer that these native people rely on for their food supply, they make their own vitamin C, and it's a metabolite of liver function, and they eat the liver raw. So it's considered a delicacy. And that's what keeps them going. Because considering the harsh climate conditions that they live under, it's amazing. It's amazing the human organism has the power to withstand an awful lot of stress and terrible environmental conditions and still come out of it. But a lot of it has to do with that willpower, I guess, that we all have. And of course, the diet is everything.
So vitamin C, people should take every day, 3 to 4 grams?
I would say a minimum of 1,000 milligrams a day. I'm being conservative because, again, I have come across people that couldn't tolerate much more than about 500 milligrams. And for some reason or another, they were very efficient users of vitamin C. And so you have to find out for yourself what works best for you. And for myself, I find that I can tolerate fairly high doses. And usually if I take 2 heaping teaspoons of ascorbic acid and 2 flat, that is level teaspoons of baking soda, I've got to put that in a pretty big jar. That's going to be a couple of liters. And so that once it foams down, and I've got it down to maybe about a liter or 2 of water mixed together. And then I can take that down, and it will have a very powerful laxative effect. That's far too much, really, to normally take. But somewhere between, I would say, from 500 to up to maybe 6,000 milligrams of vitamin C. So half a gram is 500 milligrams, so 6,000 milligrams is 6 grams. Now, that could be 6 tablets, or again, a good heaping, a reasonable heaping teaspoon. A level teaspoon, I guess they say, is about 4 grams, according to the information on your Life Extension vitamin C product there. Because they're also got to allow for the minerals there, because they take up room too. And that's a good way to get your vitamin C buffered, and can take it down pretty easy. But everybody to his own taste. You can buy vitamin C powder as calcium ascorbate. You can also buy it as sodium ascorbate or just pure ascorbic acid. And then you can find products like your Life Extension product, which gives you the buffered C with minerals of potassium, calcium, magnesium, and zinc.
The absorbic acid form is the lowest price.
Yes, it's the cheapest, but you can cut it. And baking soda is very cheap. Arm & Hammer, it's only a couple of dollars, and your ratio is maybe about 1/3 baking soda to 2/3 vitamin C. You can adjust it maybe 1/4 to 3/4 of vitamin C to suit your own taste.
Is all vitamin C created equal in terms of brands? Would you recommend a particular brand, or would it?
Well, I have my favorite brands, but I mean, if price is everything, probably Cripps Pharmacy is one of the best places to get, bulk vitamin C in whatever form you want, as ascorbic acid, calcium ascorbate, or sodium ascorbate.
And what about natural factors?
Yes, well, nice thing about natural factors, if you buy it by the bottle, you can get a nice plastic bottle to carry 500 grams or a kilogram. And a bottle like that, you don't throw it away because it can be used for storing other things like rice and other things that, you want to store for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we've been talking about vitamin C, and for those of you who didn't know much about vitamin C, that's a lot to absorb.
Well, I do know this, that has made a big difference in my life and the life of many other people who, and of course, I know of people who are literally snatched back from the grave thanks to vitamin C and the doctor who knew how to use it.
Here's something we haven't talked about. My cousin was out from Ireland visiting 2 summers ago, and he had very, very bad allergies. He was taking a over-the-counter allergy medication, but he also had a inhaler because sometimes he had really bad allergies, and I gave him some of my vitamin C powder.
Practicing medicine without a license, were you?
I suppose I was. Although...
but how many doctors would prescribe vitamin C in a case like that?
I just said, this has worked for other people in the past, and try this out. And he has not taken... It's 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He has not taken a allergy medication since. But in Ireland, it's very hard to find vitamin C.
Yes.
In large doses. It's very, very... Because it is a codex country.
Yeah, and the only way you can get it in is either by importing it yourself, and as long as they don't, stop it at the border.
So he managed to find some it was actually at a little carnival, a gypsy carnival kind of place, and he found some vitamin C powder that he's been purchasing ever since.
He's been able to get it. Excellent.
And he hasn't had a problem since.
Yeah. Well, vitamin C actually is a very potent antihistamine, and it is an anti-allergen. It will neutralize allergens. That's a very important point that you raise, and this is valuable information for anybody that has a problem with things like eczema can be an allergy response, dermatitis and things like that. And, of course, you can have various conditions triggered by some allergen. Asthma can be triggered by some sensitivity to some chemical. And taking vitamin C is an antihistamine. It will neutralize these things. Mm-hmm. And, so it makes a big difference for somebody like your cousin. And good on you. You did him a big favor and opened up maybe a whole new world of nutritional information. I hope he's getting this over the internet.
I'm sure he does.
I think we have lots of information that people need to have, because I think, unfortunately, the world situation is not going to get much better, and I think it's headed for a lot worse. And I see these restrictions coming from, again, you mentioned Ireland being a codex country, which means that they have to adhere to these stupid strictures where they're saying less is better, so cut the amount of vitamin C by half in terms of recommended, cutting B vitamins significantly, cutting important minerals like magnesium. Well, who are these people working for? Obviously not for mankind, that they would cut access to important nutritional factors.
And that wraps it up for this week on Health Empowerment News. We've been talking about vitamin C, and if you have any questions for CROFT, comments, or suggestions about the show, you can leave them on our voicemail feedback line. That's 604-816-0356. Or if you're calling from the United States, We have a U.S. number, 415-251-3625. You can get a hold of me at andrew@foodsarenotdrugs.com. I'd love to hear from you. And we'll see you again next week.
Yes, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to be with you, Andrew.